I've been most impressed by what the EU is doing in its thinking around blue economies, blue growth, blue technologies, and some of the work that's being put into projects like the ACCCSEAS in funding those sorts of projects. So I'll be absolutely fascinated to hear what you have to say about it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm very happy to be invited here, and I would like to congratulate the organizers of this conference. It is really a good initiative and very well done, so thank you for that. It is easy for me to continue with following the two previous presentations because they actually did touch all the main elements which are there, why we are working here with these issues within the EU policies. I'm working on the unit which is responsible for facilitation of shipping, and that is a very pleasant job to do because that's normally people receive that very well. We are trying to reduce the burdens. We are trying to make the shipping more efficient and more attractive, and that in general is good for the economy and so on. It is needless to say that the European maritime transport is vital for European economy and prosperity. Europe is very dependent on maritime transport for its trade, and with the rest of the world and within the internal market, of course. 74% of the goods are transported by maritime transport, and within the internal market, 37% of goods transits through the ports. So it is obvious that without maritime transport, we would be in a big trouble. We have a general strategy in Europe how to get over the current crisis and how to keep ensuring that Europe is a prosper continent in the future also. And this strategy calls for smart growth and sustainable growth. It is very important for us to ensure that while we are ensuring that the European economy is thriving, we are also looking at reduction of resources, emissions, and energy. So that is not an easy combination to try to reduce tools, what we often need to keep the economy running, and that means that we have to do things more efficient way. The targets what we have set there, 20% reduction on energy and greenhouse gases, they are very ambitious and they are difficult to reach. So we have to do also utmost in all the projects that we can to support this. We have a white paper for transport, which takes, of course, in account that when compared to other modes, the maritime transport has advantages such as lower transport costs, lower impact to the environment, and particularly in relation with the cargo transported. In our white paper, which was published in 2011, we also emphasized the need of removing barriers from social shipping and the need to connect seamlessly with other transport modes. There is also new thinking within this strategy document, which was establishment of so-called core network, which connects the central parts of Europe, and then we have the comprehensive network, which connects with the core network. So we try to ensure that we have a fully functional core network in Europe, which is then connected to other parts. And for that, we have put now all of our projects and policies to support that development. What are the challenges? Well, if we look at the studies and estimations, we can see that there is a sharp increase expected in ships and cargo. That is steadily rising. We are talking about 1.9 million for 2025 for port calls, and well, while at the moment we have about 1.5 million. So that is a big increase on the ships calling the ports, and that obviously means that that it would need to be somehow facilitated more. The ports would be need to be more efficient. Also, as you can see from ACCSEAS report, they also forecast substantial increase 1.5 times for the transport, for the traffic. Another interesting element, particularly when we are talking here in Edinburgh, is how will the Arctic, what kind of impact the Arctic will have into the traffic here. Because now, if we are looking at the figures published by the European Community Shipowners Association, they are talking that that more than nearly 30% of shipping companies are foreseeing establishing activities in the northern area, in the Arctic area. And that's a big difference, particularly if they are going to pass through Northern Sea areas to access those areas, and then through Northern Sea route to the east. So we don't know exactly what kind of impact this has, but we hope that ACCCSEAS will, for example, help with finding out more about this. Another thing is of course the ship size. Here is a Viking Amarella built in 1986. I had a chance to be on this ship on its maiden voyage and maiden trip, and it was at that time one of the biggest ferries in Europe. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest ferries. So it was quite big. 1986. Yes, and now if we look the same ship next to the MS ACCSEAS, which is this picture was taken in 2009, we can see that the size difference is quite enormous. So the Oasis of the Seas is nearly the same size as Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. It's a huge ship. And of course, ensuring the safety of such ships is utmost importance. Evacuation of this size of ship would be a quite challenging exercise, as we can imagine. So it is important that we ensure that the positioning and route optimization for ships, also from this aspect point of view. Furthermore, if we look at the development of the EU policies, we can see that there has been a shift. Originally, we were looking more of a modal shift aspect, so we wanted to move away from road transport towards ships and towards rail, which are more environmentally friendly. But we have now been also realizing that we cannot just support policies which are doing the shift for those areas. We need to look the logistic supply chain as a whole and try to rather integrate all of these modes to each other so that they can function better and there is no bottlenecks when the cargo is moving or passengers are moving from one mode to another. While doing this, we of course are looking of a different elements which would help us to integrate better. And in this sense, the e-maritime is really important because this is our tool to look how the maritime transport would be integrated with other transport modes. And it basically is looking of how could we, with the use of electronic systems, improve the efficiency and the safety of the maritime transport. It is not just a single unique initiative, but it is a wider policy within which we are trying to support a number of other initiatives. One of such initiatives, very important, is the Directive 2010/65 for reporting formalities, which is establishing the national single windows in the EU. Within these national single windows, which will be harmonized on EU level, the ships can now submit their reporting obligations to a single interface in each member state. And this interface will be harmonized so that they can use the same reports in every member state. It's covering the EU legal acts, so commonly those related to, for example, border control or customs issues. There's also IMO file forms, and it is also given possibility for national forms. We expect to have the technical specifications ready by this year, and 1st of June it has to be functional. Here is the conceptual drawing of that, and you see that every member state will have a kind of a cloud architecture in the national level. That means that we are not going to dictate how the member states are going to use their systems, but rather just an interface towards the industry with that. And then there will be exchange of information between the member states also. So the information is shared between authorities on a member state level, and then between the member states when necessary. As said, we need to also look at the cargo. The cargo is very important. Here we see a standard feeder vessel, and behind that feeder vessel is the Alexander von Humboldt, which is one of the biggest container ships. It's 16 times bigger than the feeder vessel on the front. Here you see that will be a huge task of moving these containers out from this ship and loading it again and getting all those containers out. That's a 16,000 TEUs. It basically takes, with the most optimized port, 1 day to unload and load, and that is a really good thing. But then you need to still get those 16,000 containers out from the port. Doing that by trucks is quite a difficult task. For that purpose, we have another e-maritime initiative which is called Blue Belt, where we are looking for a facilitation of cargo going through the port, trying to remove or facilitate cargo inspections, and allow the EU cargo, which has been going outside of the EU borders and coming back, to be recognized still as EU, and so no need for having a risk analysis and other inspections anymore for that. What benefits? Well, e-maritime benefits, they are quite obvious. We are looking there, of course, at having a reduced administrative burden. We are looking at possibilities of establishing value-added services. We are seeing the economies in scale for standardization, improved of efficiency. So the improved efficiency, this is very important that we have all the information in electronic format. And there it's also very important that we do know how the ships, what time the ships are arriving in the ports or leaving from the ports, and all these navigational support systems like Mona Lisa and ACCSEAS, which will help to provide just-in-time services for ships in ports. They are very important in this sense. And then, of course, the connection with the transport chain itself. Here is the vision. We see on the top that the ship was sending originally messages, one message per one authority. Now with the reporting formalities, there is one message for all authorities per port call, and in the future we hope that the ship will need to send only updates when there is any changes to the message. And then this information is not going to be used only by authorities, but granting access rights and so on, within the links with the hinterland connections and other operational optimization services. As mentioned, it's very important that the maritime transport is fully integrated in the logistic chain. We have in EU other initiatives, just such as ITS, which is the Road Intelligent Transport System. DAF, TSI is the Railroad and River Information Services, and then the e-maritime. They are functioning a bit on the different levels, and that is a tough task to try to see how to benefit the cross of all these modes, and that's the E-Freight, which is our initiative, our policy, which is working on this. We are closely involved with the work of e-navigation and with IMO. We have been participating in these meetings more or less since the beginning, for example, I was in the e-navigation annual conference in January, and I also gave a presentation in the e-navigation IMO meeting last year. So we try to ensure that we are coordinating and taking benefits from IMO and trying to align our work with that. In this context, we are planning to have an action plan which would look all the other different elements. For example, Michael mentioned the automated reporting, the ship-to-shore reporting issues, maritime clouds, and so on. These are very important. They are developed within the navigation, and we of course would like to be either early adopters in Europe for these, or significantly give an input for these developments where we can. So we are not working alone, but trying to accommodate those more global needs. And the Maritime Action Plan, which we hope to start working on this year, maybe help with the expert group from different maritime actors, will then cover these, will help with the input for these topics. Thank you for your attention.